Brandon, after almost a decade of thinking that TNA was gonna die, how the hell are they one of, like, the most exciting companies right now? Even without NXT, okay? They got crazy people. Over the past year, they've gotten, like, Dolph Ziggler. They've gotten the Hardys back. They've gotten Matt Cardona. They've got Jake something, who I have seen live and is freaking awesome. And the question then remains with TNA.
Hold on. The disrespect you just gave.
Don't worry. I was gonna say his name.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Okay, I'll let you cook.
Hell, Joe Hendry is the hottest star in NXT right now, and he's not even in the company. Who could join this new TNA to really bolster what is already becoming a very hot wrestling scene? And I want to say, none of these are necessarily predictions by any means.
They're spoilers!
Especially this first name. Because this first name, who I am pitching as the new authority figure of this TNA roster. The line does read McMahon. Shane McMahon. Instead of going to AEW, like everybody has been thinking, because there's been that conversation, I think him going to TNA would be so fascinating. Because I think Shane does have a fascinating mind for wrestling. He's never going to get the reins in WWE. Triple H and Steph are that now. Put him in TNA. Make him this, like, behind-the-scenes guy, because I think he does have a bunch of ideas.
Shane McMahon in an X Division match.
Shane McMahon versus Jeff Hardy.
That's the immediate one that I was just thinking. It can be a who can break their back first match.
For real.
I feel like that also sort of opens up so much possibility for that temporary partnership with WWE. I feel like it would help that make a lot more sense on television. I feel like that could not only boost the ratings for TNA, but also just be something cool to happen. However, while we're talking about authority figures, per se, going sort of loosely based off of that, I know he just got there, but Joe Tessitore, I feel like TNA could do so much with you.
Joe Tessitore going could be very fascinating. Especially if he just right now.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go along the lines of Morrow when you said that, too.
I want him to come back!
He could come back. Who cares?
Mauro Ranallo legitimately could go toe-to-toe with Jim Ross, and I legitimately believe that Mauro Ranallo would give him a run for his money.
Yeah. Especially in a fight.
I'll give you a slobber knocker!
Can we get an AI-generated image in here of Jim Ross hitting the stunner on Mauro Ranallo?
Make me a picture, Jim Ross. Are you serious? It's saying that I can't do it because it's specific people. Jim Ross look-alike.
I like how it's like not Jim Ross, but I get it.
Well, I said a Jim Ross look-alike.
Oh my gosh, wait, no, that's Ed Ferreira! That's Ed Ferreira doing his Jim Ross impression! Weirdly enough, Mauro Ranallo looks like Jim Jeffries.
Oh my gosh, he does.
Yeah, it looks exactly like him. Going back to, actually, the topic, TNA, yeah, that thing. Let's talk about the actual wrestlers that could show up at this place now.
Okay, yeah, good point.
So I have some names here that I think, with the WWE partnership, they could temporarily go in. AJ Styles. I imagine you have him on your list, too.
I do. I feel like he should retire there. There's still something missing with AJ gone from TNA.
Yeah, AJ Styles was very much Mr. TNA.
It's like the equivalent as if John Cena went to AEW. So that's sort of the way I look at AJ Styles to TNA, is he was their John Cena. I could see AJ like having the comeback of a lifetime, whether it was a known "this is my last run in the house I built."
That isn't SmackDown.
There's so much, especially now with the current roster, that they could do. I know we talk about him all the time at this point, but AJ Styles versus Joe Hendry, that interests me.
The music video really does interest me there.
If Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson went with him, then we're really cooking.
I completely agree, to the point where I have Gallows and Anderson on my list, but almost like separate from Styles. They have been a group and they've been linked for so long, yet simultaneously have done nothing with each other. Gallows and Anderson really need to change.
I feel like I would almost want them to go back with Styles, but then, like, in the midst of the final run, it's like the only family he has on the road leaves him, turns heel type shit, and then you have that story as well.
Kind of like what happened All Out with the Danielson BCC stuff.
Yeah, with Styles' age, as well as, like, his kids and all that stuff. If I was AJ Styles, one of the primary benefits is, oh, cool, I get to be home more.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially because, like, since going to WWE, he could really use that star power over to get some zeros.
I don't think necessarily a ton of people start watching. Like, I don't think he's a huge needle mover. But I think the news of AJ Styles returning to TNA is definitely going to draw the eyeballs of guys like us.
And if we're talking about catching eyes and all that stuff in terms of people joining TNA, this one, I feel like it might surprise you. Xavier Woods.
Wow. Xavier Woods is a fascinating name.
Well, first off, I wouldn't do it until after the New Day breakup.
You gotta leave Kofi with something.
Now that he has the star power of WWE, he could come back and it'd be something really freaking cool.
I 100% agree with this, especially if he comes back as Austin Creed.
I'm assuming you'd have to pay an arm and a leg for the rights to Up, Up, Down, Down, but then it actually makes Up, Up, Down, Down make a lot more sense because his freaking name there is Austin Creed.
That is so fascinating.
As far as Xavier Woods goes, I feel like he could, with that comeback, be like TNA World Champion.
Oh, that just fits. Creed really fits that title. Like, I'm staring at the belts now, and just that title on Creed would look really cool.
I guess you could argue this for everyone, but I feel like Xavier especially is, like, I feel like he should have been IC champ. As far as I know, he's never won it.
He's never won a singles title.
Because even in that, like, short NXT run that they had, I could have seen Xavier Woods with the North American title.
Woods being the guy who beat Solo for the North American title would have been so cool.
And then it plays into their already existing Bloodline New Day stuff.
And that pushes the New Day even further into that island of relevancy.
Yeah, you're picking up what I'm throwing down.
Well, if you're going to hit me with a name that's shocking, I have another name, Asuka. One, because she's kind of done everything. And two, because I think Asuka's presence is so unstoppable that it could really make some of those girls... Like, tell me you wouldn't want to see Asuka versus Jordynne Grace.
That would be a really cool match.
TNA's Knockouts division has always been one of its strongest suits.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely think Asuka joining that could elevate that division to even bigger heights.
With the current TNA partnership that is going on, if there is anybody that needs exposure, it is Apollo Crews. He has been a jobber pretty much since his debut. He is so good. When he debuted, I was actively thinking, holy shit, this guy is cool. If Apollo Crews were to go to TNA, he would be a solid X Division candidate.
Oh yeah, he would be a really fun X Division wrestler. I know this is weird because they're both WWE guys. Mustafa Ali versus Apollo Crews.
That does sound sick.
That does, like, if they're given 20 minutes and say go put on a banger, like, they can put on a banger, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I genuinely don't understand what went wrong with Apollo Crews.
He is the closest that I can think of to the body that Vince wants and a cruiserweight.
Do you remember Ezekiel Jackson?
Of course.
I always thought that if Ezekiel Jackson were to come back, it should be Ezekiel Jackson, Apollo Crews in a tag team. Apollo Crews is Ezekiel Jackson's long-lost son.
Apollo Crews should be the Jason Jordan to Ezekiel Jackson's Kurt Angle.
Yes.
I do like the pairing, though. I could see them, like, Ezekiel Jackson is, like, the big boss, and Apollo Crews is his henchman.
It's like Doink and Dink. Speaking of clowns.
I literally looked at my roster that I have here to be like, who here is like a clown?
Speaking of clowns, some could argue Ricochet's last run in WWE was clown material. I don't think he should have went to AEW. I feel like he fits so much better with the TNA roster than he does the AEW roster, despite all of the great things that he could do in AEW. That roster is way too oversaturated. There is no chance in hell that Ricochet is going to become AEW World Champion.
I'm in two minds about it. One, Ricochet is the most AEW wrestler of all time, but I do agree that he is never winning that world title. I have a whole list of people from AEW because they will never win the world title. Ricochet actually is not on this list, but
Prince Puma is.
I take back my entire argument.
Get Big Rick in there and Apollo Crews, of course.
Stupid little prick named Rick.
Thought he knew shit, but didn't know shit.
Something I like about TNA, and this is something that I can point to in their past, is they are weirdly kind of good with gimmicks.
Mm-hmm. Shark Boy!
And so I think use the TNA talent of building on character. Abaddon.
Oh, 100%. I don't know why I didn't write that one down.
And Nyla Rose I also have for that same reason. Because I think Nyla Rose also has so much potential. And I just think Nyla needs a character growth. I don't think that's going to happen in AEW.
I didn't have it written before, but as I'm thinking about it now, I think it'd be really cool if Darby Allin went to TNA.
That would be fascinating.
Especially with his, connection to Sting and how connected Sting is to TNA.
Oh, dude. Yeah, of course.
That'd be so cool.
Oh, you want to talk about people with connections to TNA? How about these two names? Christian Cage. And, in addition, he brings along his best friend.
Which one, Adam Copeland or Luchasaurus?
Both.
Okay.
Specifically, I'm talking about Edge.
Who's Edge? You mean Adam Copeland?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Edge died after that match with Sheamus.
You see, I like the idea of Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, Beth Phoenix, and Lita all going to TNA.
Oh my gosh, dude. And then Christian, instead of doing dad jokes, he starts doing ex-girlfriend jokes. That would be fun.
And then going off of the same thing with what you said earlier about Shane McMahon going to TNA, Christian Cage could then have a thing with Shane McMahon going on about his father.
They don't even have to say anything. If you just put them in the same room, they're gonna get a holy shit chant.
Just have Christian Cage stare him up and down and then walk away.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all you need. They don't have to say a word.